Welcome to the Mindset Mile podcast, the show that'll leave you empowered to take action towards becoming the turned up version of your already awesome self. I'm your host, Aisha Zaza, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's go. Hey fam, welcome back to another episode of the Mindset Mile podcast. Happy Monday if you're listening to this when the podcast drops every week. I would like to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, Upspace Fitness. They are making this episode possible, which I think you're going to love. I hope you're going to love. If you are a newer listener to the podcast, then you may not know that the first 30 episodes of this podcast were designed as a challenge, a 30-day challenge to either walk or run 1 mile a day for 30 days consecutively while listening to the corresponding daily episode. And I designed the show like this because I wanted to create an experience similar to the one I had when I trained for and ran my first full marathon after coming from a long history of hating running. And there were all these things that kept me or prevented me from actually getting into running the way that I am now. But it really, one of the biggest things was letting go of the expectation that in order to be a runner, I needed to do X amount of distance or run for X amount of time in order to be a runner. And those big goals or big expectations that I had of myself kept me from doing what is the most important work, which is building small and consistently over time, and then eventually leading up to these bigger markers, whether that was distance or time or whatever it was. So when I set up the Mindset Mile Challenge to walk or run 1 mile a day, the premise was that it is so easy to do, right? Anyone can walk or run 1 mile a day, and they can do it from anywhere. But it's equally as easy to not do because it's just a mile. You're like, well, it's not that big of a deal. Like if I miss a day, then it's just 1 mile and it's just one day. But therein lies the difference. Doing the work or not doing the work, and that mindset that, oh, it doesn't matter, it doesn't make a difference. That is the slight edge. Like that, there is a difference in everything that we do or don't do, and it adds up over time. And tons of people have messaged me over the last couple years that they did not finish the 30-day challenge the first time around, but then they started again for a second or a third time, and they completed the challenge and were changed in ways they didn't think were possible by doing something so small 30 days in a row. And among the hundreds, if not thousands of messages I've received from people all over the world who have shared their transformation and their wins with me, just a few include completing their first 5K, 10K, half marathon or marathon, quitting smoking, getting sober, starting YouTube channels, starting small businesses, lasting weight loss, building successful, healthy habits, walking a mile a day for 365 days and counting, walking or running consistently more than they ever have in their lives, joining the group fitness studio they were always intimidated to go to, overcome depression, decrease anxiety, and the list goes on. To say I moved by the ways in which your life has changed in even the smallest way for the better is an understatement. It truly is life-giving and is a huge reason why I continue to do this podcast. But let's go back. What if you didn't finish the 30-day challenge despite your best intentions? And I'm using the 30-day challenge as a reference here because it's easy and it's relatable, but this could really be about anything. What if you've started something that you didn't finish? On Instagram stories a few days ago, I asked if people would share why they didn't finish the challenge in their first attempt. And here were some of the answers I got. They didn't do enough days in a row to start it off so that it became a habit. They lacked discipline. They didn't plan when they'd walk or run that day or the day before, so the day got away from them. Or they missed one day and figured since they'd already missed one that there was no point in continuing because they had already messed up everything. So in general, a lot of the feedback was that they didn't finish the 30-day challenge in their first attempt because they weren't in the habit of walking or running 1 mile a day. And the irony is that the 30-day challenge was built specifically to help people build new healthy habits. So here is an instance of the chicken and the egg. Which came first? Is it already being in the habit of moving your body every day that's the catalyst of success for a challenge like this? Or is it committing to the process when you're just starting from square one? Is that how you get the job done? It's your commitment from the beginning. It's not that you're in the habit already. It's that you're going to commit and follow through. Ritual knows it's basically impossible to get all the nutrients you need from your diet 100% of the time. So they made a multivitamin that helps you focus on what's important. I never miss a day of taking my Ritual Essential for Women 18 and Over multivitamin. I love knowing I'm taking a supplement that fills key nutrient gaps and supports my foundational health. There are 9 key nutrients in the 2 capsules I take daily, and I love that it's soy-free, gluten-free, vegan-free, vegan-friendly, and formulated without GMOs. Instead of striving for perfect health, aim for supporting foundational health. Great news! Ritual is offering my listeners 10% off during your first 3 months. Visit ritual.com/mindsetmile to start your subscription, or if you already have one, you can add the multivitamin Essential for Women 18 and Over to your subscription today. The truth is, there's no wrong way to listen to this podcast or move your body. In fact, many people who started this podcast in winter months who lived where it snowed would send me photos of how their Mindset Mile was done skiing. How freaking cool. I love that interpretation of the Mindset Mile. Now, there are 3 things I wanted most out of setting the show up the way I did. 1, that you would let go of the expectation that in order to make a lot of progress, you needed to do a lot of work sporadically and instead do a little bit of work consistently. 2, that if you did miss a day, you would relearn that it doesn't mean you failed and need to throw in the towel. Walking or running 30 miles in, let's say, 32 days, assuming you missed 2 days out of the 30, is 30 more miles than walking or running 0 miles in 32 days because you felt like it didn't matter or you messed up after the first or second day. And 3, that you would regain trust in yourself to follow through with something because you said you would. The habit of quitting, and yes, quitting is a habit, it's something you've learned to do over time, often happens before we even start something. Let's go over a few reasons why you might quit on something, and this applies to anything in your life far beyond the Mindset Mile Challenge. A lot of reasons why people don't follow through. They either didn't plan, they got discouraged shortly after starting, they didn't have a big enough reason why, they made excuses, maybe they didn't believe in themselves, they cared what other people thought, or maybe they believed they weren't worth it. So I want to ask you, have you found yourself ever not following through with something you started with a lot of enthusiasm because of one of the reasons I just listed? Regardless of the reason, every time you don't follow through with a commitment you make, you chip away at your belief in yourself. You start to lose trust that you have the ability to take something from start to finish. And even when you feel like you're ready this time, or you're excited to pick something new up, the voice in your head whispers, "Good luck. We know how this story ends." It's really a vicious cycle that will keep perpetuating unless you stop it. There are a few things to consider when you pick something back up you've quit on once before, whether that's a challenge, a new routine, or whatever else you've started and haven't finished in the past. First, decide before you even get started that you're going to follow through. Decide that this is going to be the time, regardless of what comes up, whether in your life or in your own head. Say it out loud. Tell your partner, tell your friend, or better yet, do it with them. You need some accountability by declaring what it is you're going to do. Next, you need to plan. You've heard me say this before, and I'll say it again. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You don't need to map out weeks or months at a time, but if you don't schedule what is important to you into your day or into your week, guess what? Your day is going to get away from you. Let's be real. You're not really ever going to come up on time accidentally in your day. If you're wanting to commit to the gym or walking a mile a day, schedule it into your week and know exactly where it's going to go. Treat it like an appointment. Next, you're going to have to stop relying on motivation to do whatever it is you want to get done. Motivation, as we know, is fleeting, and the consistency you want comes from being disciplined. And discipline is what creates your habits. There will certainly be days that you don't feel like going on a walk or run, but getting started really is half the battle. Get your shoes on, grab your headphones, and get out the door. Cut the time that you lollygag. The longer that goes on, the more likely you will be to talk yourself out of doing whatever it is you want to do. Next, you're going to need to be really clear on why you want to stick with something. What's your why? Is it to make more money? Is it to feel better? Is it to lose weight? Is it to feel confident? Dig into the end result and envision what you will feel like when you are in that place you're desiring to be right now. You really have to envision it, and then you have to remember that feeling and know that everything you're working towards is moving you closer to it. And lastly, believe. Believe in yourself. You have to believe that you can. Believe that you're worth it. Believe that what you're doing matters and makes a difference, because I promise you it does. You can choose to believe in yourself regardless of your track record. It's going to feel hard at times, but choose it. When you become your biggest cheerleader, there's little you won't stick with. Quitting is a habit, as I said, but staying is a habit too. And the good news is your actions create your outcomes. So decide, plan, believe in yourself. You've got this. I totally believe you have everything in you to pick back up that thing that you put down or to start something new and follow through. I really hope the tips in this episode served you big on your journey of starting again after you've quit something. Please send this episode to a friend that could also use this message. And if it spoke to you, I would love if you shared it on social media and tagged me of your face or where you're doing the Mindset Mile. I love seeing where you live, what you're up to, and how the show is impacting your life. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me today, and I can't wait to see you next week. Until then, make it a great day.